right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I'm joined by my buddy Kevin, aka the Buffalo Jet fan. What's up, dude? How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, so I mean, we all know what's happening with OTAs and everything like that. We have some players that are really bursting out onto the scene, like DJ Reed, the cornerback position. But Zach Wilson, there's been some reports saying that he's looked really, really good. There's been one big report saying that he hasn't looked good at all. What's your expectation for Zach Wilson heading into year two?
Look, I know right when we talk about OTAs, the Allen Iverson meme comes right to our heads. Like, what we talk about practice. But look, in a vacuum, I can't say practice doesn't matter. Overall, how you prepare for games is probably the most important thing about your team besides your talent level. I'll say this though, practices matter a lot more in August and on than they do in June. So there are some things to look for in practice that I think do matter. I'm never going to freak out over a tweet about a stat line in a 7-on-7 drill. Zach Wilson went 4 for 8. I'm never going to lose my mind about that. And I'm not going to really care about interceptions thrown in practice either, because something to keep in mind when you talk about OTAs in practice is that players are often under directives from coaching staffs to work on specific things that may hinder their quote unquote performance or the appearance of their performance in practice, but really it's developing their game in the long run. I'll give you an example. Say like an edge rusher has a really great swim move, got it down, ready to go. A defensive line coach might say, hey, today, no swim move. That's good. I need you to work on your bull rush. Then all of a sudden, he's only using his bull rush. He's not getting pressure to the quarterback. Now, did he have a bad practice? No, he's just working on a part of his game. And I'll be willing to wager that Zach Wilson has a directive from this coaching staff that says, dude, let it rip. Because last year, really hesitant. He has to learn what being open in the NFL looks like. Being open at BYU looks like your guy standing 20 yards away from the nearest defender going like this, and you chuck him the football and it's an easy touchdown, right? And we saw when Zach Wilson got hurt last year, there were some windows for those balls to go when the veterans came in. So Zach Wilson, he has to let it rip. He has to have a feel for that. He has to see it. Okay, that window, boom, that was good. This window, that was picked off by my safety, Jason Pinnock, in practice. So he's going to be throwing some picks in practice and in the preseason. I'm not worried about it at all. It's necessary growing pains.
Dude, that is an incredible point. I haven't heard that point made once this entire offseason. Okay, like, dude, that was good stuff. The thing that I really like about Zach's situation, to me, it seems like literally everything is trending up. Picked it up towards the tail end of last season, second overall pick going into year two, the same coaching staff, right? It's not like a Justin Fields situation. I love
Right.
Fields, love his skill set, but unfortunately he has to take everything that he learned, verbiage wise, scheme wise, everything like that, and just dump it. Trevor Lawrence, same thing. Urban Meyer, complete disaster. Now he's starting over again with Doug Peterson. We saw the same thing with Sam Darnold a couple of years ago with Todd Bowles and Adam Gase, obviously, but Zach doesn't have that, that burden. It's everything is the same. The only difference, a ton of extra talent. Brees Hall, Garrett Wilson, Corey Davis coming back from his injury, Elijah Moore going into his year two, a completely revamped tight end room, and also Laken Tomlinson as well on the inside. So to me, dude, literally everything is moving up. Like the stock is going up for Zach Wilson. Everything is moving in the right direction. And it gets me fired up to think about that. Finally, the Jets are supplying a young quarterback going in, a young talented quarterback with the necessary help. And, we actually just did a live stream on your channel and you made a great point. Like this is the year where we're going to find out really what Zach Wilson is made of, right? We know he has the arm strength. We know he's mobile. We know he's a tough guy. We know he wants to get better. But like, this is the season. Like he has multiple wide receivers. We're 3 deep at tight end. We got multiple running backs that are going to help out, a better offensive line, assuming a better defense as well, right? It's got to get better for sure with the edge rushers, corners, everything like that. But, as far as, I know it's June. I know stat predictions are all kind of like educated guesses, but
Right.
if you had to ballpark it, touchdown INT, maybe TD INT ratio, passing yards, maybe some rushing yards, where do you think Zach Wilson will land? Not to put you on the spot, but just ballpark.
Oh, come on. This is what my inner thoughts as I'm driving to work all the time. I'm ready. Now, look, we all know the eye tests and the win column is going to matter more than the stats. But honestly, I need some legitimate 21st century quarterback stats out of Zach Wilson next year. We all know what that looks like. Something approaching 4,000 yards, 36, 3,700 plus yards, touchdowns in the mid 20s, maybe a handful more with his legs. And then, the volume of stats, I'm not as worried about. To me, it's the efficiency. So something like completion percentage, that's got to be in the mid 60s. Our offense calls for a lot of, layups, easy throws, checkdowns. He has a lot of talent. And look, last year, he had the highest drop percentage of any quarterback in the NFL last year. So even if his pass catchers just had average hands last year, his completion percentage probably would have been 4 or 5 points higher. So just by getting guys who can catch, we've made up half that ground for him. I want to see a completion percentage in the mid 60s. And then a really big stat for quarterbacks, the yards per attempt. That's kind of like the ERA for pitchers. It's a big one. All the good quarterbacks, if you look at the rankings of who leads the league, you can pretty much see like the top 10 quarterbacks right in order. And usually a benchmark for that is 7 yards per attempt. So that's where I'm looking. Those two numbers, those efficiency numbers to me are more important than the volume. But yeah, we need some legitimate stats out of QB1 in year 2.
Yeah, I think me and you are kind of the same, where it's like I test over everything. And we were joking around before about like fantasy football and everything like that, statistics and everything. I think we're both kind of on the same page of, as far as like watching the games, watching the individual players or, specific units, and seeing how everybody does, against who they're playing, all things considered, weather, home, away, all that good stuff. Who's your so obviously the Jets, Joe Douglas, they did a great job this offseason by adding tons of talent, free agency and the draft. Might not be done too, by the way. Hopefully a Larry Ogunjobi signing would be great in the next few days. Yeah. Same with maybe even a Quan Alexander, or hey, maybe even a Riley Reif. But what was your number one I would say your favorite new addition? It could be even somebody coming back from injury, like a Carl Lawson, maybe a Becton. Who's your number one guy?
Yeah, you probably mentioned it in Carl Lawson, just because now you and I, we both love DJ Reed. Man, that might have been my favorite free agent signing, just like it was yours. DJ Reed, I don't want to give a cop out and give you 2 answers, but I got to just talk a little bit about how good DJ Reed is, man.
Definitely.
You watch him, and he has mastered the craft of playing professional cornerback at the highest level. With his lack of height and athleticism, it's unbelievable. And, we can throw the Pro Football PFF rankings out the window, whatever, but there's some other undeniable stats that it was just incredible last year. We talk about completion percentage against and yards allowed, and he was one of the leaders in the league in yak yardages allowed, and his run grade. That tells me he's an excellent tackling corner. And that's what I love about Joe Douglas in this rebuild. Complete football players, tight ends who can block, corners who can tackle, safeties who can cover, edge rushers who set the edge, defensive tackles who can rush the passer, right? We don't have these specialists anymore coming up. Hey, here comes our run blocking tight end. I wonder what we're going to do, right? We're versatile, we're elite, we're dynamic. So that's what DJ Reed brings to this team. And Sauce Gardner, he's the number one corner of the future, obviously. Hall of Fame talent, really does. But when we step on the field against the Baltimore Ravens on 9/11, and when you and I are there, DJ Reed is going to be the best cornerback wearing green and white. Make no mistake about it. Now, Carl Lawson, I'd probably pick him over a guy like DJ Reed because I've seen the Jets have really good corners recently. But man, Ian just told me on my channel, he came up watching the Jets in 2006. I'm a little bit older, so he just missed my favorite player coming up. That was John Abraham more than 15 years ago. The last time we had a dynamic, really elite edge rusher. And don't let the sack numbers fool you, okay? Because Carl Lawson is an animal, the likes of which we have not seen on this team in a long time, and I can't wait to see him on the field.
Yeah, well, another benefit to that too is like actually having a 4-3 defense. So like the emphasis on defensive ends getting in the backfield as a pass rusher is huge. Like Muhammad Wilkerson was a guy who had like a good year, statistically speaking, the double-digit sacks, everything like that before he got paid. But as far as like a true 4-3 D end, right, coming off the edge, consistently going one-on-one against tackles, I think it's going to be exciting. We know he does have the explosiveness. Of course, we don't really know how he's going to look post-injury. It's just a hard thing to kind of project, especially because he did deal. He was dealing with obviously a lower body injury, but man, Carl Lawson, Jermaine Johnson off the edge, Vinny Curry coming back, Jacob Martin, a nice depth piece, a little underrated signing from the Houston Texans. I'm pumped up. I'm totally pumped up to see what this 4-3 defense can do with talent. Okay, the added Solomon Thomas on the inside, big year for Quinn Williams also on the inside. You know, I do feel like the loss of Fadakasi is going to hurt this team, especially in the running game, clogging gaps, taking on double teams. You know, I personally, Foley was one of my favorite players, just because I felt like he did a lot of the dirty work and just an underrated guy. I do think that was a sweet pickup by Jacksonville, and the Jets will miss him. So a little concerned about the inside, but man, to give Saleh the horses, to give him the talent that he needs for the system to go, which is constant pass rushing threats off the edge. It's exciting because we can see a quick flip go from, you know, the 32nd ranked defense in football all the way up to, I'm hoping, a top 15 defense. I think that's realistic given the talent that this team has added. Also Saleh going into year 2, and you know, it's his system, he's convinced that it works, and you know, of course, all the other like little storylines as well, like CJ Mosley coming off the best season of his career, Quincy Williams moving in the right direction, everything like that. So I'm excited for the defense. I really am. Where do you stand with defensive expectations moving forward?
Well, you mentioned the 4-3. Now that we finally got to run it, you know, we talked about it a little while ago when you're on my channel, that the Jets didn't have the personnel to really implement the systems that they want last year. We don't really know what a Robert Saleh as a head coach defense or a Michael Flores and OC looks like, because last year we were throwing 11 guys in the field to survive. This year we have the talent, the versatility, the depth to dictate pace, personnel, and the matchups and the style of games. Now, you talked about the defense, the 4-3, and you hear Coach Ulbrich talking about, we don't catch blocks, we don't read blocks, we play with our hair on fire, we're jumping out of our shoes. I mean, man, if that doesn't get you fired up, I don't know what will. And you'll notice a difference in the 3-4. You're kind of the defensive line. They're engaging. They're playing that peekaboo in the backfield, reading the play. In this defense, the goal is you dispose of the 300-pound human being in front of you, and you figure it out from there. And I can't wait to see that. And then a stable of depth. Mentioned Jacob Martin, a starter last year. So I don't know if we have a 10 sack guy. I think we have a lot of guys in the 7-8 sack range, but I like us to be in the middle of the pack in sacks. And probably, you know, jump from 32 to a top half of the league defense, maybe at least somewhere in the teens. We're still young, so there'll be growing pains. To me, the biggest wild card for our defense is how many turnovers can we force? Because, my God, when's the last time we recovered a freaking fumble, dude? Like, we have really struggled to take the ball away, and NFL offenses and quarterbacks, they're too good for you to just line up and get them off the field on 3 and outs. You have to take the ball away. You have to steal possessions. So that's one thing I'm really looking forward to us improving now that we got some guys with some ball skills and some guys that can hit the quarterback.
Yeah, dude, 100%. I mean, you take a look at like, you know, top scoring defenses, top teams or top defenses that take the football away. It's not a, you know, a complete equivalent to, you know, meaning that they're the best defense in football, but chances are they're up there. You know, if your defense is, you know, scoring points for you, or you have a corner that's, you know, constantly picking the ball off, constantly giving the offense second chance after second chance, it's a really, and by the way, it also does a lot for like the morale of a defense as well, just getting everybody pumped up, excited. I mean, we all know the energy, whether it's on the field, coaching staff, fans in the stands, even if you're watching at home, like if you know, your favorite corner, your favorite safety just picks off a pass, everybody goes rushing, do the whole end zone picture thing. Like, it gets people excited. If you're doing that every week, yeah, dude, if you're doing that every week, like it does something for the locker room. It does something for the morale, not only with just like the numbers on paper and the percentages of, you know, what it also does for the offense. You know, so I think really just not getting down so early in games, getting after the passer, taking the football away. I think you made a great point. You know, we take a look at the offense though, and this is, I think, really the big thing of the season. Like, it's 100% clear the defense has got to get better. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. If it doesn't, tons of people are going to be pissed off. But on the offensive side of the football, you know, everybody's hoping that Zach Wilson does take that leap forward. But is there any player, maybe it's a Corey Davis coming back from injury, maybe it's, you know, top 10 pick Garrett Wilson, maybe it's Breece Hall, who knows? Is there any player, any player that you're watching specifically saying, this is the guy that I feel like is going to burst out onto the scene, this is the guy that's going to pop off, and the national media is really going to start paying attention? Not saying he's going to, you know, be a top 3 statistical leader or anything like that, but just a true difference maker.
Yeah, this is easy for me. And I love all three guys you mentioned, but for me, it's Elijah Moore hands down. I think he's going to hit the ground running and be the go-to target for Zach Wilson right away. Look, I know we can cherry pick numbers, but if you look at his peak 6 weeks, where he really started to catch fire, was lighting it up. And if you pace that out to a 17 game season, it would be like 1,300 yards. And if you actually look at the beginning of the year, his slow start, dude, was kind of a myth. Look, he was cooking corners. And Michael Nania has an old article from Jets Factor that you can go back and read, and you could type in Elijah Moore's slow start as a myth, and he breaks down and he shows you the film against Carolina, Cincinnati, games in the first 2 months of the season. He's beating the corners deep, but because of a poor offensive line and a rookie, young, inexperienced quarterback, we just weren't getting him the football. I think he hits the ground running next year, and he's getting some Pro Bowl votes. I really do.
So to kind of push back on that, and I'm not anti Elijah Moore. I love Moore a lot, but just trying to look at it like subjectively with the upgrade to tight end, with the upgrade in Brees Hall at running back, with selecting a wide receiver in Garrett Wilson in the top 10, it's not so much a doubt against Elijah Moore's talent, his ability, everything like that, his abilities to get open and, be where he needs to be. But just in the case of just overall volume, will the throws be there? Because there really is only one ball at the end of the day. Is Elijah Moore going to be the go-to guy in the offense in your eyes?
That's a fair point. And look, I think if we're attaching ourselves to any stat benchmark from an offensive skill player, like if you're going into the season thinking this guy has to get this many yards or this many touchdowns, or it's a failure, we're kind of not setting ourselves up for success with our expectations, because honestly, I have no idea what this new look Jets offense is going to look like. We could roll out there week one and go 4 wide receiver sets and be play action, slinging it all over the field, or we could see 2 tight ends and Brees Hall and Michael Carter are pounding the ball and we're playing rugby. So you're right about that. I do think there's a lot of mouths to be fed. But I'm looking at Elijah Moore. I do think he's going to be that number one target, that security blanket. Besides that, I think it's a little bit of a crapshoot in terms of the stats, but I'm sticking to it, man. I really think Elijah Moore is going to be the guy this year.
Yeah, dude. Well, yeah. Hey, look, if it happens, you'll be the first to, hear it from me. But dude, I appreciate you taking the time. I know it's super late at night. We just did something on your channel I think for like an hour, and my camera battery life is like on its last leg here. So, dude, I appreciate you hopping on, man. Really do.
Anytime, dude. We'll be talking ball soon. Thank you, everybody. Go Jets.
And all of Kevin's links are down below in the description: Twitter, Instagram, and of course his YouTube channel, The Buffalo Jet Fan, if you don't already know. Yeah, thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.